Hey everyone, it's Kazlo, and we're back with another Endwalker Media Tour reaction. Today we're going to be looking at a few videos going over Reaper, one of the two new jobs coming with Endwalker, and the one that I'm probably more excited to try out. I've actually already started working on Glam for my level 80 Dragoon. That way I can easily roll it in to Reaper once I level it, and trying to make some of those preparations so I can easily get it from 70 to 71 and start dungeon spamming. But I don't know hardly anything about it right now. So I'm going to jump into some of these videos. We're going to start with Larryzaur, as we normally do, and see what there is to kind of learn about it.
Reaper is so edgy, and really it's just living its best life. Or afterlife? Anyway, this is...
Speaking of, I was a huge fan of the Dark Knight in Final Fantasy XI. So seeing Reaper kind of take on that role in 14 is part of the reason I really want to try it out. But let's go ahead and keep going.
It's job gear. I really like the hat. I'm pretty sure that I heard somewhere that covering one of your eyes will increase your DPS, so it's got that going on. And scythes are one of the coolest weapons in all of creation, and yeah, this does not disappoint. But first, I have a disclaimer. I was sponsored by Square Enix to try out this development build of Endwalker, and everything that you see here is subject to significant changes. That includes potencies especially, since a lot of them change throughout all of the jobs. I would not worry about them. But anyway, let's take a look.
I definitely dig that running animation, though. That is a really cool running animation.
Reaper has two main resources. There's the soul gauge, which is the red one, and the shroud gauge, otherwise known as the blue one. The overall goal is to use your normal attacks to generate soul gauge. Then you spend this soul gauge to use avatar attacks. Using one of those attacks will unlock the use of a Soul Reaver attack, and those will generate Shroud Gauge with the blue one. And then you spend the Shroud Gauge to let the avatar possess you, which I'm sure is perfectly safe. Once in your spooky mode, you go real fast and you alternate attacks, and you finish it off with a big 1000 potency casted attack called Communio. Also, this graphic is just a single target. There's also AoE version.
Okay, let's take a look at this real quick. So we've got a normal combo into using the avatar attacks, give soul gauge. Or no. These combo into these, okay. So our soul gauge attacks combo into attacks that give shroud gauge, and shroud gauge is how we get possessed, which opens up all new spells and abilities. Okay.
Versions of this stuff. So for the normal attacks that generate your soul gauge, Reaper is a melee, and thus it must have a 1-2-3 combo. It is known. And that combo is Slice into Waxing Slice into Infernal Slice.
Hold up, none of is those aren't positionals. Are we gonna have any positionals? Because if it's a positional, it's a positional less melee DPS, that's really interesting.
Which will increase your soul gauge, which is the red one. Then for AoE, you have an AoE combo, Spinning Scythe into Nightmare Scythe. Please do not use this on single target. And then there are two normal attacks that are on charges. This is Soul Slice for single target.
Also not positional.
And Soul Scythe for AoE. These will generate a whopping 50 soul gauge. Okay, so that was the normal stuff. Next are the avatar attacks, all of which will cost 50 soul gauge. There's Bloodstalk for single target and Grim Swath for a cone AoE. Both of these will unlock one Soul Reaver attack.
Neither of them are positional.
On a minute cooldown called Gluttony. This is a big potency AoE that gives you 2 Soul Reaver attacks. Now on to the Soul Reaver attacks. There's 3 of them, and these are the ones that generate 10 Shroud Gauge, the blue one. For single target, there's Gibbet and Gallows. These are the ones with positionals, and when you use one of them, it will enhance the other one, so you will be alternating uses of these. As a side note, these will also alter your Bloodstock, but that just happens anyway. You don't really have to think about it. It's just the button changes. And the AoE Soul Reaver attack is called Guillotine, which is a cone. Once you've got 50 Shroud Gauge, it's time to spend it on Enshroud to, and I quote, offer your flesh as a vessel to your avatar? You get a whole makeover with glowing red eyes and glowing arms and probably a whole slew of back problems but hey, you do more damage now. Your Soul Reaver...
Wait, do they give you the hood during this? Because I know he was wearing the hat earlier. If so, that's a cool little visual change.
Avatar attacks will now transform into their Lemure versions. Okay, so basically you have 5 available Lemure Shroud stacks. When you spend these on the upgraded Soul Reaver attacks, they will burn up and allow you to use the upgraded Avatar attacks. So for single target, you will do this. Void Reaping into Cross Reaping, which will burn up 2 Shroud stacks and allow you to use Lemure's Slice. You do that combo twice, and you'll have 1 stack left to use on Communio, the big finisher. Then instead for AoE, you'll do 2 Grim Reaping into a Lemure's Scythe, and you do that combo twice and finish it off with a Communio. And that is the core loop. It may sound a little strange, but once you play it, it's actually very intuitive and flows super well. I was pushing the wrong buttons, so do as I say and not as I do. But that's not all. You've got an array of tools to help you out. The most important tool is this debuff that needs to be on your targets at all times. It's called Death's Design, of course. It increases the damage that you deal to said target by 10%. Shadow of Death is your single target version of this, and Whirl of Death is your AoE version. I did not keep this up because I'm a big old dummy and I cannot read. Reaper's ranged attack is called Harp, and interestingly, it has a short cast time. Related to that, there's 2 gap closers, Hell's Ingress and Hell's Egress. One of them jumps you forward, the other one jumps you back. And when you use one, the other one changes back to a teleport to bring you back to your Hell's Gate.
That's actually super nice mobility.
This will also make your harp instant cast. And Reaper has utility. There's Arcane Crest. It's a shield that you put on yourself that's 10% of your HP and lasts 5 seconds. If it breaks, you get a regen on everybody. So helpful. And this is a fun one. There's Arcane Circle. It's a 3% damage buff for everybody around you for 20 seconds. But the real kicker is that they all have 5 seconds to land a weapon skill or a spell. And if they do, they will give you an Immortal Sacrifice stack, which you can have up to 8 of them if everybody does it. Yes, that means you 2 healers. You can spend these Immortal Sacrifice stacks on Plentiful Harvest, which goes up in potency according to how many stacks that you have. And as long as you have 1 stack, which you always will, it'll give you 50 Shroud Gauge, so you can immediately go into Avatar Possession mode. And the last thing that you've got is Soul Sow, which allows you to use Harvest Moon. It's a big AoE attack. Soul Sow is instant outside of...
Larry, how did you not make a Harvest Moon farming simulator joke? Especially since the lore is that these are angry farmers. Come on, Larry, you're better than that.
Combat, but it has a long cast time during combat. So you'd probably only be doing this during downtime or of course outside of battle. And that is everything for Reaper. I had a freaking blast playing it. It just oozes style in everything that it does. Not to mention that I'm a particular fan of Reapers in general, winky face. Thank you so much for watching, and all of my videos on the Endwalker job changes are out now, so check out the playlist in the link in the description below to watch the next one. Okay, bye.
Not gonna lie, that's tempting me a lot to level Reaper before Red Mage. I'm not lying. But we'll see what happens when it comes time. So that was Larry's video. Like I said, I was surprised he missed that Harvest Moon joke. Especially, I don't know if that's Koji that decided to make a Harvest Moon joke on the Angry Farmer class, but if he did, that man's a godsend. But let's jump into the next one, which is, I think that's Zepla.
Hey Buns, today I am so excited to finally show you this first look at Reaper from the Endwalker Media Tour. Now keep it. One other way that you can get some of that juicy red bar soul gauge is with the button Shadow of Death or Whirl of Death.
She's got to be using dungeon footage. I can't really look at it.
Debuff on your target that you want this up at all times on anything that you're fighting. Shadow of Death is.
Okay, I do want to look at this though. Okay, so Death's Design is a 10% damage increase. Okay. And you get soul gauge if they die with it on there. Oh, that's so strong.
Single target version. Basically, the Soul Reaver lets us use Gibbet, Gallows, and Guillotine. That's the 3 pretty blue buttons on your bar, and they also charge up the pretty blue.
I also didn't point it out earlier, but Guillotine coming back from 11 is nice as well.
Bar. This is the death gauge part of your job gauge. So yes, finally, after all this building and spending, you finally have blue balls and are almost ready to finish your rotation. Control lasts for 30 seconds, and you can see it ticking down. Bloodstock, on the other hand, becomes Lemur's Slice, and Grim Swath becomes Lemur's Scythe. And those each cost 2 blue balls. So using any of these new shiny buttons will get rid of those blue balls. Lemur's Shroud balls become Void Shroud balls, is what I'm trying to say, all used up. And finally, you will have an access to the very cool level 90 skill, which is Communio, which is your big climax finale. It does a ton of damage and just ends your avatar hosting experience. But wait.
Blue balls and climaxing.
So,
okay.
Talked about Shadow of Death, World of Death. While after you've done that, after you press one of those buttons, it will give you the enhanced harp buff, which just makes your next harp instant cast. You could teleport quick back. Do that. Harp, or I don't know why I'm doing it good. Pull out your gun.
That is super nice though, that like you get an insta cast, so like you can weave while dodging back to get out of an AoE or dodging forward to get to the boss to begin with. Though you probably wouldn't use it if you're dashing forward to the boss, but if you needed to get to the other side of the boss and dashed forward, I like that they give you a little option there.
But it's just fun to see how everything works, and I can tell you from my experience that I have loved Reaper, and I certainly hope that you will give it a try.
Alright, that was Zepla's video, and I did not expect so much talking about blue balls and climaxing, but there we have it. Let's jump into our next video, which I think this is Chris from Work to Game. Yeah, it's Chris with Work to Game on his Gaming Kinda channel. So let's go ahead and jump in that.
Hey guys, Chris here from Work to Game, Gaming Kinda, and now Gaming Kinda TV over on Facebook as well. From the Arcane Circle, we will cast Plentiful Harvest, which will consume all of our Immortal Sacrifice for a line AoE with a maximum potency of 800, based on the number of stacks of Immortal Sacrifice that we stacked up. The last remaining ability is Harvest Moon. This is straight up...
Okay, so 520 at 1 to 800 at 8. So 520... or 800 minus 520 makes it 280. Divide that by 8. Of course, I used the wrong Excel file. So potency will go up by 35 for each stack, theoretically, if it's consistent all the way up to 800. But we don't know that for sure.
There is a lot to optimize here, and so this is going to be a very high skill ceiling job. And
see, and that's funny because that's not how Zepla and Larry talked about it. It seemed very intuitive and kind of how you would expect for it to play. So it's really interesting that he has kind of a different viewpoint. But like he said, he was largely going tooltip by tooltip. So maybe he didn't get as much hands-on time with it and more focused on the tooltips.
unlike some...
All right, well, that was Chris's video. There's only, I think, a couple new things that kind of hit me there. Primarily doing the calculation for, was it Grim Harvest? Whatever the one is where you can get up to 8 stacks based on what your team does. But next up, we've got Mr. Happy. And we will see if there's anything new here. After 3 videos, there might not be. So let's go ahead and jump into Mr. Happy first.
Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video we'll be doing a full breakdown on the Reaper job coming in Endwalker. At this point, almost all of their attacks are disabled, except for transformed versions of their Shroud Gauge spenders. Gibbet and Gallows are renamed into Void Reaping and Cross Reaping, and Guillotine is renamed into Grim Reaping. These attacks all work the same as their untransformed versions, except that the positional bonuses are removed and their recast speed is brought down to 1.5 seconds, making them very fast.
Nice. So there's really only positionals on those two blue gauge abilities. And then once you turn into a Reaper, you don't have them at all. So there's very little positionals on Reaper at all.
After 6 seconds have passed since Arcane Circle was cast, the Reaper can use these stacks to execute their Plentiful Harvest attack. This is a powerful line AoE with some fall off after the first target. More importantly, it instantly grants 50 Shroud.
You know, it's really interesting that they didn't just make that Arcane Circle ability transform in to this second ability. Like, that's the only thing you're using those two for. So why not just make them the same button? Just seems too easy for me.
Shroud gauge, allowing the Reaper to enter their...
Alright, so that's all the videos I wanted to look at today for Reaper. I am definitely kind of excited to play this one. I will probably be tucking some stuff away so that we can level it really quickly. Although I am probably going to play through the story on Red Mage. This is leaning more and more to be that next job after I finish the story. But let me know in the description below, what do you think of Reaper? Are you going to be checking it out? Are you going to be power leveling it to start the expansion before you push through the story? Let me know in those comments below. Otherwise, if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to click that subscribe button. I'll probably have a few more reaction stuff like this out before Endwalker releases, and then once Endwalker's out, I'll start having some content that's focused on that. Probably some first reactions to the dungeons and the trials, and then maybe some highlights of the story. We'll see. But be sure to click that subscribe button so you can see those. Also, links in the description below to my Twitch channel, to my Twitter, and to my Discord if you want to follow me all there. With that said, until next time, see y'all later. Take care.